Welcome to XTraw AI, the podcast where we dive into the real conversations shaping the world of artificial intelligence. I'm AI Raghu, the digital twin of host Raghu Banda, and today's episode brings us face to face with a company that's challenging the status quo of enterprise AI. Joining the host, Raghu Banda, is Shay Levi, CEO and co-founder of Unframe, a next generation enterprise AI platform that's helping organizations go from legacy to AI native without the overhead of massive retraining, data exposure, or vendor lock-in. Shay brings a unique perspective, combining his deep roots in cybersecurity with bold innovation in AI infrastructure. His company's blueprint-based approach enables custom AI solutions to be built in hours, not months, all while giving enterprises full control of their data and model choice. If you're wondering how to move past pilot purgatory and scale AI safely and effectively across your organization, this conversation is for you.
Right. Welcome back to XTraw AI, a podcast series on AI and machine learning applications. And today I have an interesting topic about reframing enterprise AI from blueprint to business impact. I think this is an interesting topic in the world of AI and generative AI. And I have with me Shay Levi, the co-founder and CEO of Unframe. Shay, welcome on board.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So excited to kick the things off. I would like to first get started to understand a bit about your journey, Shay, getting into where we are here with Unframe. It's a unique name. I would like to understand your professional or personal background about how you ended up here.
Sure. So I was when I started thinking about Unframe, I was still in my operative role as CTO at No Name. No Name Security. It was a company that I co-founded and was the CTO of. We were doing API security in the cybersecurity space. We later sold it to Akamai for $500 million. So that was a pretty good run. But AI, like the LLM moment, so ChatGPT coming out and becoming popular, happened during my journey at No Name. And I started thinking about the impact that AI will have and what transition is it going to do. And in my mind, I had this idea of this can revolutionize software almost entirely. Like we could get into a world where from the moment that a company is interested in a certain solution or a certain piece of software to the moment they have it, that can become very, very short. And you can even do it in a way that is you kind of give them the software and they pay only if they liked it. Like that's the idea that I had in mind. But I was the co-founder and CTO at No Name. So in my mind, I was like, that's a very ambitious goal and a cool dream, but it's not mine. Someone else is going to do it. Someone from the Silicon Valley is going to tap into this and, capture. But I noticed no one is doing it. And it was sitting on me. And at some point I was like, well, if no one is doing it, then I am. And thus the first seed of Unframe was created. I was like, okay, there's a chance to revolutionize software completely. As much as we see it as an efficient market, is not very efficient. And I think almost every developer knows it, that they've re-implemented the same things over and over again. Same solutions, like sharing a lot of the same concepts again and again and again, being rebuilt. And I was like, something can be done here. And especially with AI and the logic that it brings and how quick you can get from an idea to a solution. I was like, okay, that's I guess something that I need to do. And I already knew Larissa and Adi, which are my co-founders at that point. And I started talking to them about this, and I was like, look, I think this is what I want to do, and I would love for you guys to join me. And that's it. And for the name, actually, we had a bunch of names that we kind of thought of. And I don't know, somehow we landed on Unframe. I think it fits because we do things differently, and you have to kind of look at things in a different way, I guess, if you go the Unframe approach. We're very much like first principles. We said we don't care how software was used to be done before. We don't. Let's think of what's possible, and
Mhm.
let's just make it happen. Um, yeah. So that's how Unframe came to be.
Beautiful, beautiful. So that's a nice way of putting it, and thanks for laying it out. So, looking back at the current AI revolution, uh, what made you realize that the future of the enterprise software has to be reimagined? Because that is where I think
Yeah.
a lot of these things are happening, right? Like, what is that one particular thing that set you in motion, saying that, hey, the future of the enterprise business is going to be reimagined?
Good question. So, we all know in enterprises how much like old legacy stuff exists, bad software, bad solutions, things like that. But honestly, pre-AI, I don't think there was major incentive to get it right, to like change, replace, But now with AI, the difference between AI native software to non-AI native software is so big. It's like inexcusable not to do this transition. You're going to fall behind if you're not going to do this transition. So I think companies and enterprises are going to look at everything they have, and
Mhm.
at some point in time, they're going to have to turn it AI native. Everything, every legacy thing, everything that's clunky. Otherwise, they'll lose the competition. And I was like, okay, a lot has to be reimagined and redone. Let's make sure we do it in the most efficient way possible this time. Let's not go the route of, um, you know, like the route of like point solutions and millions of them, or the route of not great solutions that don't really serve a business purpose. Like let's do it in a way that will actually make an impact on the business, will actually provide them high quality solutions, and will not rip them off. Another thing that I felt is that many companies started to adopt AI in order to increase their ticket size. And I
Mhm.
didn't like that motion. I felt like AI should be something that reduces cost, not increases cost. But everyone
Right.
saw this as an opportunity to pull out more money out of the enterprises. And I didn't like that motion either. So I was like, okay, let's disrupt all that. Let's do what's necessary. Let's make sure you get high quality solutions, the highest possible quality in the shortest time possible, in a cost that is very reasonable, and we'll do it for the enterprises.
Mhm.
That was my thinking, and I think, yeah, that's how I approached it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, you in your Unframe, I think Unframe calls itself a managed AI delivery platform. I think that is what I think you typically talk about it, right? I think what does that mean when you say that in when you see in this current AI landscape, there are quite a lot of different tools, and
Mhm.
and many of them are fragmented, or
Right.
maybe they are very complex. So what do you mean by a managed AI delivery platform? What would you call in the context
Yeah.
of Unframe?
So I think, there's a lot of companies putting out AI platforms with the concept of you're going to have a lot of use cases on this one thing, all in one place. But the AI platforms of today are focusing on helping you build.
Hmm.
Let us give you something that your developers can use to be faster. But I think there should be another motion where it's about the business outcomes. So who is going to help you put as many as possible business impacting solutions out there that are ready to use? Not just give you better ways to develop, but actually like get you with use cases, get you with solutions for actual impactful use cases as fast as possible. That's what we mean by managed AI delivery. It means that we take you all the way from the moment of the use case to the moment you have the full-blown solution running.
Hmm.
And we do that for many different solutions. Usually, when we start working with an enterprise, we start with one or two use cases, but we increase to 6, 10. sometimes 20 different use cases that are running on that enterprise. And there's the use case is not just an RPA, it's not some tiny flow of moving
Hmm.
things from A to B. It's a full-blown solution. Yeah, like you can describe a difficult problem that is complex and has a lot of moving parts. It's just one solution. It will be highly complex solution, but it will be one solution. Um, and so that's what we mean by managed AI delivery. It's to get you with the solution that's tailored to the use case
Hmm.
you mentioned. And I think that's very different because today, if you look at the market, you have the approach of taking a solution for a problem they've imagined, not you've
Right.
imagined, they've imagined, and then see how it fits to you.
Hmm.
Or go the route of having your own team build it. And then there's an offering of many different platforms and tools and things they can use. They're not necessarily going to pick that platform because it's cool and you saw it. But with Unframe, you give them a solution. So they're like,
Hmm.
okay, so there's no burden on the IT team. They're getting a solution. They can go ahead and experience it. Obviously, see that it's compliant and all that, which we do, but they can go ahead and start. The ROI is in there as soon as you get it. And we put our money where our mouth is. We tell you, you pay only when you're happy with the outcome, only when you have the ROI. Who does that?
Hmm.
So that's how we look at it.
So basically, you have spun this thing way around rather than starting with a product or a solution that you bring to the customer and say, hey, how I can modify for your scenario. But we think uh, outside in approach, maybe start with the problem or the use case that you have and then uh, kind of position it for you or build it for you.
Correct. And the way that it's being done from a technological perspective, because you don't want to start from scratch. If we had to start from scratch every single solution, we wouldn't be able to deliver solutions in 2 or 3 days. And that was when the concept of building blocks came into play. So we were like, we're going to still build a platform. It's all going to run on one platform, one layer that's going to improve over time and enable us to move fast and create high quality solutions. But and the concept that is going to be in there is building blocks. Similarly, like a metaphor I like to use is Lego bricks. Let's
Mhm.
prepare the Lego bricks. So whatever, if the customer wants a spaceship or they want a car or they want a crane, it's very easy for you to do when you have the Lego bricks. If you don't have Lego bricks and they ask you to build a crane, well, gonna be painful. And so that's how we thought about like the technological aspect. Let's make sure we have these modular building blocks that can be very tailored. We can tailor them to exactly fit the use case, be as accurate as possible, actually like hit the nail on the head. And then we're going to provide high quality solutions, sometimes verticalized, sometimes horizontal, sometimes that have real impact on the business. We're not going to overcharge the customer because we are quick in time to value. It's all going to run on one layer. It's going to improve over time. To me, it made perfect sense. To today, I think it makes perfect sense.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think this is where I think enterprises, because each enterprise scenario or each enterprise situation is unique. I think, of course, the businesses. I think you have different software companies. I think they're coming in different ways, but I think every problem is unique, and how you take it and kind of solve that will give you the better way. And of course, when you do it AI first kind of an approach, you kind of get the solution that is needed.
Mhm.
I believe you're also talking about something like no model training or fine tuning, and also you talk about no data leaving your perimeter, right? I think
Mhm.
could you elaborate a bit more how you are achieving this technically, and why is it a game changer when we talk about these kind of different regulated industries? Because we got different things here, right?
Yeah. So I'll address both points. So when we say no data leaving your perimeter, we mean that every single one of our solutions, again, we are aiming for enterprises and we know some of them are heavily regulated. Every single one of our solutions can be deployed on the customer perimeter, meaning on
Mhm.
their cloud, on their on-prem. And it's also LLM agnostic. We can use any of the modern LLMs. So if they run on GCP and they're a close partner with GCP, it can use their Gemini and be deployed on their GCP. We don't have access to it and everything stays local. And if they're AWS shop, then they can deploy it on AWS and use Bedrock. And so so that's kind of our way to give them all the confidence that the data stays theirs within their four walls and they can do whatever put the governance in place and all that. Um, And regarding fine tuning or training, we tried to, in most, almost all use cases, we try to avoid custom like fine tuning or training our own model. We just found that the foundational models move so fast that even if you create your own kind of fine-tuned version that is better now, as soon as a new version comes out, you become obsolete, and it happens all the time. And they're so quick, every like 2 months, there's a new version, significantly
True.
better, and then what? You're gonna have your old fine tune, and then what? You give up everything you fine tune. So we try to stay as close as possible to the evergreen, but it's still a difficult job. Like solving a AI use case, and I think there's somewhat of an underappreciation there. People think sometimes organizations think, oh, it's simple. We will create our own agents. When they start going down that route, they realize, holy shit, this is actually much more complicated than we thought because it's not trivial. It's not like you can just give the LLM exactly the input, ask it for the output, and magic. It's usually a long, complicated flows with many components, with validations, and it's hard. And so it's still a lot of work to be done, but we try not to fine tune it. We try not to do training in that. We try to do multiple steps, and like a lot of the IP of the company is around making those use cases work and be modular and be accurate, etc. But yeah, that's kind of the answer to your question.
And the platform, your managed AI delivery platform, it would, like you said, it is LLM agnostic and also the hyperscaler agnostic. So it kind of uh, fits right in there where you can plug and play with any of these platforms or with any of these models out there. You would elaborate a
Correct.
bit more to understand and give the concept behind that, or maybe give a bit
Sure.
of a background here.
Sure. So, look, when a customer deploys wants to use us as a SaaS, then we will pick the models. We would know the use case. We have our building blocks. Our building blocks usually have variants for the different models because different models don't work the same. They're all LLMs, great, but they
Right.
don't work the same. Um, Not because it is an LLM, but it doesn't. I mean, what you're going to give them as input with the different models, you're going to get different outputs, and you're going to have to treat them differently. We know it quite well because we build a lot of use cases, and we have a lot of building blocks, etc. And so we have a lot of variants. And then based on the use case, we will know what's the right models to use. Usually you'll use more than one, and there's going to be a lot in process. And sometimes it's about speed, sometimes it's about quality. There's a lot there. If they deploy it on their perimeter, we don't want to make it difficult for them. And so any of the modern LLMs would work because we have those variants for the modern LLMs, meaning Claude on Bedrock or Gemini for Google or OpenAI on Azure. Um, and then they can choose their favorite one. It's going to be their own API key that's going to be there. So when the solution all opens up, you have a user interface. You integrate to the relevant sources, you configure your LLMs, things like that, and then you're good to go. You're ready to use. Um, so that's kind of the idea behind that.
Beautiful, beautiful. So here, this is where I think you're bringing in the role of blueprinting, where you're shifting the enterprises from a what do you call an experimentation phase to a directly a production scale AI
Exactly.
deployment, right? I think this is where, uh, but I would like to go a bit further into the aspects of security or costs or maybe integration challenges. You have when we talk about these huge enterprises, I think often they hesitate adapting AI because of all these huge challenges, right? I think whether it is costs or integration challenges. Which of these pain points do you think or you see most frequently when you're talking with your customers, and how does Unframe help tackle them? I think so. This
That's
is where.
that's a good question. So what I usually see is one of three things, I think. So
Mhm.
I think some companies mapped a lot of different use cases and are overwhelmed by how many they
Mhm.
have. How are they going to prioritize? They started building some stuff in-house. Some stuff they rolled out. The basic things probably work fine. The complicated things don't work so well unless you really devote a lot of time and effort for them. So if you try to do it on the side, let's implement 100 use cases. The simple ones are going to work. The complicated ones aren't going to work. So we see that. We see companies maturing to realize that impactful use cases require more attention, which isn't different than, impactful software requires someone to actually create it and devote time to it. So that's point number one. Point number two, companies are always sensitive to their data. So obviously they think about that, and so if they're looking at AI solutions, they really like it that we offer to deploy on their perimeter. It alleviates a lot of those concerns. And number three, I think enterprises are thinking about cost. As I told you, like when I started Unframe, and still to this day, I feel companies are using AI to increase their ticket size. They're not trying to pass the value of AI to their customers or to the enterprises. They try to have the value of AI on their side. They are trying to get the most money out of AI from enterprises that want to, become AI native. And I think we want to flip that. We want to pass as much value from this AI revolution to the enterprises, still taking our own cut, right? Because we are making a big impact. We are producing high quality solutions, and it's all on one platform, and it has a lot of benefits. But we're very much a strategic partner in the sense of, they do one use case with us, then they do 5, then they do 10. We're not like one solution or like one product, if you will, as a company. And because of that, we never overcharge. We never try to put a ticket size that is hard to swallow, because that's the only thing we offer. If you offer just one product, you have to charge as much as possible. But if you build on a strategic partnership, then you want to give the customers as most value as you can, as much value as you can, because that's going to keep them happy, and they'll want to work with you and want to increase how they do business with you. So those are the three things, I think: cost, sensitivity to the data, and the use cases themselves. Like, how are we going to implement so many use cases? And like like somewhat of a shell shock, like, what are we going to do? Did we prioritize? Is each team going to do it by themselves? We tried to build it in-house, didn't work so well. We tried this off-the-shelf solution. It was too generic, didn't fit exactly our use case. There's a lot that we hear out there. I think Unframe is a very easy path. Come in, describe your use case, talk to us about it in a 15-minute chat, just like I'm chatting with you right now. Let's meet again 3 days later, and you have a solution running exactly to solve your use case. And if you're not happy, don't pay. You don't have to pre-commit. You don't have to do anything like that. But if you are happy, we hope you license, so you do subscribe. And then we hope that we will make more use cases together and more solutions together, and you'll be able to get the benefit. By the way, there is a certain point in time in which customers are getting interested into creating their own solutions. So we teach them how to, create their own blueprints and things of that nature, so they can start producing, especially the simpler ones, they can start producing on top of Unframe platform as well. It's just not what we start with. We start with taking as much burden upon ourselves so the customers can just go ahead.
So basically, you start with with your platform. I think your building blocks that are built on your platform, and pick up what is that one particular thing the customer wants to solve at the moment, and then prioritize or maybe build it for them. You do a quick prototyping for them, and then kind of give them the option of how it is working, and then scale it up eventually when they come back to you, right? I think
somewhat. I would say it's not a prototype though. They get a full-blown solution. Because if your building blocks are good, you should be able to give them a full-blown solution, not a prototype, something that actually works to the point where they say, yes, this is perfect. Like, really, this is what we want, we go after. This is great. I want to license it. I'm going to use it. It's not a prototype. Oh yeah, the concept makes sense. No, it works.
okay.
And then they're like, okay, this is pretty exciting. I can't believe you solved the use case that I was struggling with for 6 months in like a week or 3 days, 5 days, whatever. I have 5 more for you guys. Let's do that. And then if that happens, then they usually come back and say, how can I know how to use the building blocks to build solutions myself?
Right.
They are licensing Unframe. So, and we can talk about that. We try to make it friendlier as time goes by. Right now, usually, they have a lot of admin capabilities. They don't really build their own use cases on the platform. There is going to be a moment in time in which, there's a threshold of use cases that customers are going to be able to self-build. Yeah, so but for the complicated use cases, we prefer to take the burden because we know the platform better than anyone. If there's a building
True.
block missing, we create it, and then and that's kind of how it rolls. I think it's very powerful to have it as an enterprise, something that gives you time to value that fast, doesn't overcharge you, and works in a way where you pay only if it makes the impact. That's great.
So, yeah, that's great. I think thanks for clarifying that. So, can you walk us through a scenario or a use case? Maybe we don't need to talk about the confidential details of the customers that you're involved with, but maybe a typical scenario, a simple use case versus a complex use case, and how do you handle that in building this? Uh, Pick up any of these uh,
Sure.
industry use cases, and then maybe we can talk about it.
Okay, so let's take the example of let's take the example from the real estate world.
Mhm.
So think about commercial real estate. The source of data in many of the commercial real estate companies is our contracts, our lease agreements, as they're called,
Mhm.
and those are in commercial leases, and those are like 80 pages long documents, sometimes very old, scanned, scribbles on the side, not very digital, and that's their source of data. And
Right.
they are managing sometimes tens of thousands of properties, and when you want to start using the data in an effective way, it's very difficult to do. So AI came into this world and they were like, why don't we just let AI digest all of that? The files, the contracts, the amendments, the estimates, everything that goes into it. Kind of digitize the whole thing, extract all the relevant data points, abstract them into something that's very consumable, and let us interact with it in natural language, right? Everything in AI is kind of has to end with and let you interact with it in natural language. But it's not just that, also from an exploratory experience, right? You expect to see it on a map or Google Earth or whatever. Like you expect to
Mhm.
be able to use that data very effectively. Now, if you're working on a new lease, you can negotiate based on historic ones. You can identify market trends. You can do pretty cool things. Um, and so that use case came to light. And I can tell you, you look at it and you think, well, this is very like real estate specific. Can Unframe tackle this challenge? Is it
Mhm.
something that Unframe will do better than real estate companies? Or is Unframe going to do better than just the naive approach of putting it in ChatGPT or something like that? So I can tell you the use case is very much not trivial.
Mhm.
You cannot just drop something like that into a chat GPT and say, well, extract everything for me and like create an
Right.
abstraction, and it doesn't work. There's a lot of reasons for it, but it just doesn't work well. And so we had to kind of look at that problem and break it down into the building blocks that we have and building blocks that we didn't have yet.
Mhm.
And then we improved the ones we had based on actually experiencing real use cases, and we added some building blocks that we didn't have. Just as an example, right? A building block can be anything. It can be something of AI processing, can be a presentation layer. You want
Right.
it on a map, you want it in Google Earth. That's a building block. There's no reason for you to re-implement it for every single solution. You want a building block of a map presentation, you can just put on. And so um, and so you assemble those together and you produce the solution. I can tell you that of every comparison that was done, and by now, the solution is very much active and very much making an impact. All the comparisons that were done, no other company comes even close. No other solution comes even close.
Mhm.
Because if your building blocks are of the highest quality, that every single small thing is optimized, every single piece of the machine is optimized for this use case and for all the other use cases, and then the entire solution in its entirety is optimized to solve exactly your use case, it's almost impossible to compete with. And
Mhm.
then as the final line, if you think about that, Unframe, even the Unframe pricing model is almost impossible to compete with. Who
Mhm.
else is offering you this Santa experience where you write your wish on a note, they give you it ready, and you get to pay only if you like it for a custom thing that you just asked? And so every single piece of this machine is optimized. This is why I think as Unframe's gonna grow,
Mhm.
and it's growing pretty rapidly. and as a lot of confidence, it's going to build itself like a trust factor. I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be very hard for a lot of companies out there to compete with Unframe because every single piece of the machine is optimized. It requires great execution, but basically, from the software to the solution to the way that the AI works to the presentation to the whole customer experience with it, everything is optimized to the highest degree possible. And this was like the first principles approach. I didn't care what is currently acceptable in the market and
Mhm.
then, iterate on that, make a small little tweak and produce a one better solution on something. I was like, no, I don't care. I want to look at, what is the best possible in given the physics, what is the best
Mhm.
possible approach that we can take here, and let's do that. So that's kind of talking through a use case and kind of framing it, what was the thinking process for Unframe.
And typically, this process reduces the number of the time required for the customers to implement this, right? I think maybe from months to weeks or days, something like that.
It
Or
was it was
yeah,
a week. It was a
yeah,
week.
yeah.
Exactly. A use case like
Mhm.
that where you think, wow, this is complex, and it is a complicated use case. Trust me. There's a
Mhm.
lot we had to like figure out. But it was a week, and the solution was done, and it made big impact. And from there, the strategic partnership starts, and more use cases come to light. And it's not like point in time. Unframe is managed, right? Remember the word managed. So if they come up with feature request and enhancement, it's just like any SaaS that you have. You get it. You get to add capabilities. You get to expand the scope, support, troubleshooting, everything that goes into it. It's a subscription. If you don't like it, don't stop paying, and away we go.
So,
So yeah.
so in the current landscape of complex enterprise landscapes and enterprise intelligence systems out there, uh, some of these things like observability or agent based automation, and maybe and like the modernization of legacy systems, these are some of the things which are very much needed. How do you
Mhm.
think your platform is trying to address them? Because I think these are some of the key components that are very much needed in the enterprise world. Any thoughts that you could share?
Sure. I think we try some. Okay, I'll split it into two.
Yeah.
In most cases, we don't come with our own agenda of what this company should solve for. We come
Okay.
in and they have a certain idea, even if they don't know exactly, they have a certain idea of processes or areas, whether it's legacy systems, whether it's automation, whether it's an observability problem. They have a certain idea of the problem, even if they don't have a certain idea of the solution. And so through that session of talking about their use case, it doesn't have to be a fully baked use case. They can come,
True.
not knowing, but we come out with something we believe can serve them well and tackle a problem that they care about so that they get value. Because the way to adopt AI, if you think about that, and by the way, that's a good point, and it's a topic that I actually wanted to share. I think AI came into the world and everyone decided they're going to think very long term and create this crazy AI strategic initiative that is going to spend, going to be 5 years plan and all that. And I think it's not the right way to do it. Just like any other thing in history, you start by having quick wins and
Right.
you generate based on those quick wins other quick wins, and then you increase naturally until you build something that's really great over multiple years, etc. And I think Unframe very much takes this approach. We don't just come in and discuss AI and the strategic initiatives and like how you're going to have value in 3 years. That's not the point. It's about how do we make impact on your business now so you can get better than your competitors. You can do things in cheaper way, faster way, much more efficiently. Your employee experience is going to be better. Whatever it is you hope to tackle, um, we are there aiming for the value. Let's just make sure you get it. Let's make sure you harness the power of AI. As I said before, we want to get a little bit to ourselves. We're not free. We're not nonprofit, but we are very much focusing on giving you as much value as possible. as opposite to what was done before that I felt was being done before Unframe came to the world. I still feel it's being done today. Companies are trying to maximize AI value for them. And Unframe, I think, tries to maximize AI value for its customers.
Right. I think I like the aspect of what you put, like maximizing the value of your end customer, your customer's customer, not exactly the customer that you are dealing with. So in that way, I think you create a bigger pie for the customer and also the customer's customer. I want to go back to this LLM agnostic nature that you talked about Unframed, right? I think it is pretty powerful. I know there are quite a few companies out there that talk about this. How do you help customers safely experiment or switch between these different LLM providers when we talk in in the context of Unframe? Any would you kind of give it a
Sure.
quick overview on that or spin on that?
Sure. Yeah, we help them. We tell them. So when we talk about a use case, we already recommend. We tell them, look, we know those because if they would use us as a SaaS and not deploy on their perimeter, we would pick the model. And so we can tell them like not just one model. Usually it's a few, but we can tell them, look, we found that if you're going to configure this and that model, it's going to work the best for you guys. We don't know if you're comfortable with it and you only want to use that one. It will still work okay, but this will give you the best results. So we're very straightforward with them. And generally, the whole work with Unframe is, and this connects earlier to what you said about use cases. If they come out, if we hop on a call and they just don't know, they've heard about AI, they know it's important, they don't know what their use case is. It's again, we're taking this somewhat consultative approach. We don't charge them for it, right? But we help them get up to speed. We don't mind spending an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, just getting them up to speed, understanding what happens in their organization today. And this is the same approach with the LLM agnostic. This is why I remembered it, where we come in and we listen to them and we hear what's going on their environment and we figure out a way to take them to value. And again, this whole thing that I just said is part of the we don't charge for it. We can hop on even 2, 3 sessions sometimes, just talking them through AI, explaining them, and like walking through, trying to help them figure out where the low hanging fruits are. Even if they don't want to use Unframe afterwards, that's okay. And the same is being done with the LLM agnostic. They can say, well, we don't really know. What do you guys recommend? You know, we heard this is good, that is good. Then we'll talk them through it. We'll talk them from our experience. Uh, and they can essentially the choice is theirs how they want to move forward.
Beautiful, beautiful. So now I'll come to the interesting part of our conversation. This is what I term the extra AI question or the $1 million, $1 billion question. I know there's a lot of competition out there. I know the Unframe has a unique way or a unique approach, or how do you want to put this across? What is that particular differentiation factor? If you want to put it in one word or one frame or one sentence, or how do you
Wow.
turn it around?
Wow. Interesting. One sentence. Um,
Or even a one, maybe
no,
your thoughts. I think one paragraph
I
or
get
whatever.
what you were saying. I think so depending on the hat you're wearing, right? If you're wearing the hat of a customer, I think Unframe is really maximizing the value that you are going to get, how fast you're going to get it, how seamless it's going to be, how much risk you're going to take, which is going to be minimal. Um, I think all of that is what's going to be, uh, glamorous for you to decide to work with Unframe. So that I think if you wear the customer hat. If you're wearing like this, person of the world hat, I think Unframe has the potential to truly disrupt the whole software market. It's very far from where we are right now. I don't kid ourselves. Um, but I think it does. If we will be able to execute on that vision long term, where every single piece, like I mentioned before, every single piece is optimized, time to value, how well it solves your use case, the being able to pass as much value to the customer and taking just a bit for ourselves, the reusability factor, all of that. If you are able to execute and you get the trust factor, I don't think you can stop Unframe. I think the moat it has is gigantic. In order to, the inefficiency now is so big and Unframe inefficiency is so little compared to this big inefficiency that exists today, because of which things take a lot of time and people pay a lot of money and things don't provide value and all that. That's, I think, are the two different ways to look at it from the customer, which is, the most appealing, I think, and from a person looking at AI from outside, like how big can Unframe get? I
Mhm.
think it can be huge, but it requires perfect execution, and there's still a chance that we will fail, and that's all right as well. We're not kidding ourselves. We know it's hard work. We need to work really hard and execute on every single piece, but it's an exciting goal to work towards, I think. Yeah.
I like the way you put it. I think the very honest way of putting it out. I think really liked it. Uh, it's been a great conversation. I have a couple more questions before we turn it around. Uh, so, what is that? What are the top takeaways that you would like to put together for enterprise leaders who are looking to scale AI responsibly and effectively? Any thoughts?
Yeah. I would say three things. One is don't wait. Don't just say, okay, we're not gonna do it. Let's look what others do and then we'll pick up. It's really revolutionizing.
Mm.
It's transforming companies very effectively and quite quickly. And if you're not going to pick it up, you might be left behind. So I do suggest to take it seriously and say, okay, what are we going to do about AI? Don't be yellow pages when the internet comes out. Start to think, okay, wait, this looks promising. Let's make sure we're on top of that. That's the point number one. Point number two, um, focus on making an impact, making things of value. Don't just bring on a DIY platform that you produce a lot of small things that don't really create an impact. That's a common pattern that we see where they're like every citizen developer will be able to build something and we'll have thousands of agents doing the work. And then you find out none of them actually make an impact because none of them work right. Or your flow or what you're trying to create is much more complicated than a simple flow and then doesn't work together. And so
Right.
things of that nature, like avoid these. Try to figure out what's an important use case for you to solve and go and solve it. And then when you go and solve it, you can do it with your own team. Probably a good approach to take. You're going to get something, if they're going to devote their time and put serious effort to it, they're going to produce something of high quality, probably. It's just that I think an efficient approach can also be, and hence this is where Unframe comes into light, to talk to Unframe and try to do it together with us. Because we will take you to the end result of having the value and making the impact very quickly. We won't overcharge you. It will be as risk-free as possible. And kind of this is how I'm thinking about this. You asked about security and responsibly.
Mhm.
Obviously, security is very important. But don't let it like completely stop you. We know that fear is a great motivator, right?
Right. Right.
But sometimes you have to be a little bit brave to stay relevant because if
Mhm.
your competitors are a bit braver than you and take brave actions in a big revolution such as AI, the fact that you're completely terrified and not making any moves might mean they will put you out of business. Like it is that serious. I really believe that. And so you cannot afford to just wait. I think that's what I told you before. This is why I said AI is a big enough revolution that
Mhm.
all enterprises will have to move on it. You don't have the luxury. I think pre-AI, you had the luxury of staying with your own systems because they
True.
work. Doesn't matter. They work. They're not great. They're not friendly. It's a bit more costly, but they work. But with AI, the gap is gigantic.
Gap
You
is
have to
giant.
move on it. You don't have a choice.
Great. Great. I think one final question before I let you go. I think it's great talking with you. Uh, what is what's next on horizon for Unframe that you can publicly share? With a lot happening out there, right? With the um, yeah, agentic AI workflows out there, agents coming in. So, what is that thing that you guys are working on?
So we always work with more companies on more use cases, and we're very comfortable where we're at in terms of like, not especially with enterprise, right? We're not putting it out there, oh, we're working with them and we're working with them. And we're very comfortable working with a lot of different enterprises and many different use cases and kind of making our platform better in the process because those building blocks get better over time because you work on real use cases and you use them for different use cases. Um, and so I think that natural kind of motion is going to continue. Unframe is going to get better. It's going to work with more companies on more use cases, and it's going to go on and go on and go on. I think also we're going to start introducing use cases, solutions for common use cases that we found, like we did with Synergy, which is our IT ops solution that we found to be a common use case. And so we're like, okay, why don't we just put it out there so people know that there's a solution for that offered by Unframe. It will be still tailored to them, so it it still needs some tailoring in order to work really well. But so people know, so in case they have this use case, they can reach us, and we're going to do more of these. And I think that's kind of the cycle that it's going to go through. And I think there's going to be a moment in time where it's going to be, people will start hearing a lot about Unframe. They'll be like, "Oh, I heard from this company, and I also heard from this company. I heard it made a lot of impact," and that's kind of what I want to create. I don't necessarily want to sit and just make posts in order to make noise. Just so look at me, look at me. I don't think we need it. Let's make impact, and that will drive the real kind of attention.
Beautiful, beautiful. So a lot more Lego building blocks in coming in to solve the bigger puzzle. Thanks for your
Exactly.
time. I think it's very informative and very conversational. I learned a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That was an incredibly insightful conversation with Shay Levi from Unframe, a company that's not just building tools, but redefining how enterprises approach AI transformation at scale. From AI blueprints to LLM-agnostic deployment, Shay gave us a behind-the-scenes look at how Unframe is enabling real outcomes securely, quickly, and flexibly. For those looking to explore more, check out unframe.ai. And of course, we'll drop useful links in the episode notes. Thank you for tuning in to XTraw AI, where we extract the raw, real, and relevant from the world of AI innovation. Until next time, stay curious, stay responsible, and as always, happy predicting the future with AI technologies.